Injuries are mounting around the NFL, not just for the Chiefs. We're going to talk about that and much more on today's Outside the Trenches.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Welcome into Outside the Trenches, presented by our friends at Five Farms Irish Cream Liqueur. I'm hanging out with my man Big B. Nick Leckey will be joining us in the middle of the show here. Big B, how you doing, man?
I've been better. It was an awful sports weekend for me, and it hasn't gotten any better as the week has gone on, as my Kansas State Wildcats are completely falling apart. And it's just, let's just get to the weekend. Oh my goodness. This is terrible.
Yeah, it's been something that I necessarily didn't see coming in terms of that and everything. Boy, it's been quite an interesting week for your Louisville Cardinals as well. Losing the ACC championship game, keeping it close. Sorry, I didn't want to bring it up, but you're wearing the shirt, so I couldn't not.
Brutal.
It just piling it on now. When you get to see it, but let's talk about some things that are also brutal. Is like these injuries around the league, Big B. I don't know if you were watching the Packers Chiefs Sunday night game, but in that first quarter and a half, it seemed like every other play there was a Chiefs player going down. I don't know if it was necessarily a surface issue. They've got natural grass over there in at Lambeau, but that's always been kind of a big thing with Lambeau is that look, you're gonna need to wear different spikes than what you usually wear when you go there. That's what the big thing is, and it seems like whatever players wear, it's the wrong ones.
Right.
There was a couple ones that seemed like surface based. I can't do anything about Drew Tranquil taking a knee to the back of the head. You know, that's just one of those things. It's one of those fluky things. But Brian Cook, his ankle, I don't know if you saw the picture, turned basically all the way around.
Yeah, that was
not broken though. So it seems crazy. But thoughts on just the Chiefs' injuries and on the defensive side of the ball, they just seemingly got depleted.
They did. I mean, unfortunately, and I always say this about football, it's like injuries are literally just part of it. And it's usually, I mean, bones break, ligaments tear. That's just the way that it is. And, you know, it seemed like it's just like you said, Tucker, one was happening one after another with the Chiefs. It's like, gee, many Christmas, what's going on here? So it's bad. Hopefully they can get some guys healthy and get back. But, you know, football is a game of attrition, man. It's a game of attrition.
Yeah. Looking at the injury report, Isaiah Pacheco had a shoulder, didn't practice on Wednesday. Brian Cook, that ankle did not practice either. Not surprised if he doesn't practice for a while. After seeing that, Donovan Smith has that neck issue. He's not playing. I guess it's a neck issue that's impacting his like shoulders and his arm movement, which never good if you have a neck injury impacting that. That's not a good thing. And Drew Tranquil, as I mentioned, did not practice with that concussion, still in protocol. But, I mean, they've got other guys, too, that were full participants. But, like, Kadarius Toney still dealing with that hip. L'Jarius Sneed's got a knee, and so does Sky Moore. Patrick Mahomes was on the injury report today with a pec injury. He's still a full participant. Nick Bolton's on the IR still, but he was a full participant with his wrist injury. Darius Harris had a wrist injury, and Rashee Rice has been nursing a foot for a little bit. And Jerick McKinnon, his groin injury, he missed the last couple games with that injury. He was a limited participant. As you said, Big B, it's a game of attrition. You have to prepare for this. That's why, you know, you have the backups. That's why you build the roster the way you do. Chiefs with a third string Mike linebacker seemingly put them in a good position to win the game when it came down to it. They just couldn't get it done on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often that you see something like that either. You know, usually when you're down to your third string, it's like teams are running at them, they're scheming them, you know, and, you know, they had an opportunity. They put them in a good position. So, you know, Chiefs are doing some good stuff on the defensive side of the football this year, and it's going unnoticed, and it's going unappreciated because people are so used to the Chiefs scoring 35, 38, 40 points a game. And they think, well, the team stinks because they're not putting up those kinds of points. And I'm like, and I keep telling people that's not the case, man. It's just their defense is really, really good.
It is really good. And Jack Conker did the best he could, right? Going
Yeah.
out there, a guy from South Dakota State.
I
Don't
mean, what do you
expect him to go
expect?
out there. I mean, at that point when I saw the replay of Drew Tranquil taking a knee to the head, I was like,
Yeah.
great, this is going to be an adventure now, because now you're on your third string, Mike. You're anticipating that guy to be able to direct traffic and get everybody lined up. I think at one point, Justin Reed went out with an injury too in that game. He was able to come back. Charles Omenihu went out with an injury in that game. He was able to come back though, but dropping like flies on the defensive side of the ball. And as I mentioned, still gave them a chance to win the game there towards the
Yeah.
end with the offense. But Big B, the injury bug isn't just in Kansas City, isn't
No.
just happening at Lambeau Field. It's all around the league. And when you talk about even just starting quarterbacks specifically, I think it's 9 of 16 teams in the AFC
Yeah.
are starting a different quarterback than they started week 1. This seems much wilder, much different than we've had in years past.
It is. We can make and think, well, some of these are flukes. I'm like, and maybe they are, but I just know the guys are hurt and the guys are out. I mean, you look at the AFC's North, I know I'm a little biased, but you look at the AFC North in general, and people talked about that was the toughest conference in the National Football, or toughest division in the National Football League. Yeah. I mean, Kenny Pickett's out. Deshaun Watson, whether you think he was good or not, he's better than the backups. Joe Flacco is playing, for crying out loud. Joe Burrow is out. I mean, it's insane what is happening to quarterbacks all around the league. And it's typical fashion. It's ironic. The one quarterback that everybody said was always going to be hurt, Lamar Jackson, he's the one guy still standing. Now we knock on wood, and hopefully he still does. But these injuries to quarterbacks around the league, it's just insane.
It is quite absurd. Just looking at even like the star quarterbacks, you mentioned Burrow, like Cousins is out. I don't know if we want to throw Daniel Jones into the star category, but he was definitely a starter coming into it. He's making a lot of money. He's out. Anthony Richardson, he had a lot of promise coming into this year. He's out. Aaron Rodgers is trying to come back from an Achilles injury, but still, he had a season-ending injury. And you mentioned Deshaun Watson as well. Like, those are all quarterbacks that we anticipated to, shoulder a huge load from on their team, and now that they're out, and it's been so weird this year too. It's not just like, we anticipate like running backs to get hurt, right? Like I think every year I anticipate like the starting running back to miss a couple games, right?
Sure.
Just because the nature of the position and everything like that. But it really seems like it's every position is really feeling it this year. I don't know if it has to do with the shortened preseason, or if it has to do with probably a combination of factors, truthfully, with the CBA lightening up practices so they don't see that contact as much, so they're not as used to the contact as much. I don't really know. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not really going to diagnose it all that much, but it just seems like that. You look at injury reports from all around the league, you're seeing laundry lists of 10, 15 names every time you're looking at an injury report for a game. It's just something. It just seems like something's up, but it gets my radar, my spidey senses tingling.
No, you're 100% correct. And another quarterback who is playing, but he's compromised, and the Chiefs saw him a few weeks ago, is Jalen Hurts. He's out there on one leg playing football. You can tell that he's absolutely compromised, from what he actually can do. And you are right, Tucker. It's a combination of everything. It's not just one thing. It's guys are bigger, faster, stronger. That's number one. That kind of goes unnoticed. It's just the way it is. Evolution is a real thing. Guys are bigger, faster, stronger. Not enough practice time. Can't do. I think it's 11 padded practices that you can do during the season. So it's just a combination of all of that together. And also, I mean, I'm not a big believer in, voodoo and all this stuff, but karma is in the air. Sometimes it's just, it's a year of injuries, and I think we've all seen it. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's crazy how these injuries are just popping up all over the place. So it's just more than, I think it's definitely more than what we're normally see. And they're major injuries. Everybody has an ankle every now and then, or, a bump, bruise, whatever, a hamstring. These are major injuries that we keep seeing that happen, that are taking guys out for the season. It's crazy.
Yeah, you just had Tank Dell break his leg, I'm pretty sure. in
Yeah.
a game. I mean, it is a contact sport. I see JC Proctor in the chat there saying it's contact sport, limited practice time. Yeah, I mean,
It's a collision sport, not a contact sport.
that's fair.
Basketball is a contact sport. There's a huge difference.
There is, and there's that one. There's a conversation to be had too, especially I think obviously it varies case by case, but for the Chiefs' standpoint, Wanya Morris came in relief of Donovan Smith when he was not able to played pretty well from what I thought. And there's a conversation to be had of like, okay, just sit Donovan Smith until he's 100%. If you really think that, maybe he gets Wally pipped, right? Maybe he loses his job to injury. Usually, Andy Reid doesn't like to do that, though. Andy Reid's very much of a player's coach and likes to give the veterans a fair shake and doesn't like to start a rookie until he absolutely has to. But I mean, man, he looked good, and they looked good running the football behind him too.
They sure did. And the one thing that we know about Andy Reid, you are right. He is a player's coach. He takes care of veterans. But there's something else that Andy Reid wants to do more than any of that is win. And so if this guy is going to give him a better chance, and you're right, they look good. They look good running behind him. And let's just call it what it is. Donovan Smith has not had a good football season. He just hasn't. Mahomes bails him out a ton. And so it's just at some point, you just have to go with a guy that's going to give you the best opportunity to win. And like you said, whether it's an injury or not, sometimes an injury takes somebody out. It's just the way that, football and I think any athletic sport, it's just the way it works. Sometimes you get taken out by injury, and if somebody comes in that's playing better than you, it is what it is.
It is what it is indeed. And, I was just looking at kind of some of the notable injuries around the league. And like we already mentioned, I mean, there's some serious like names. Like you're talking about Jeffrey Simmons, you know, Brian Robinson. You're looking at Kenny Pickett, as you mentioned earlier. Are they going to start Mitch Trubisky, or are they going to play Trace McSorley? What do you think?
No. It's Trubisky or Mason Rudolph, and Trubisky's going to get the start for sure. First of all, he makes like $9 million. So when they signed him last year, they signed him to be the starter. So he got a 2-year deal. So this is the second year of that 2-year deal. So he's making good backup money. So if he's not good enough, I feel like the Steelers would have cut him to save some money on that salary cap. So, he's making good money to be the backup. And if we're all being honest, there's not that much big of a difference between Baby Hands and Trubisky anyway. There's just not that much big of a difference. The offense won't change. Nothing is going to change other than Trubisky does take more chances and throws the ball down the field and down the middle of the field, which as a Steelers fan, I'm going to love. So, at least he's giving guys opportunities.
Looking at other quarterbacks, Derek Carr seems to have a new injury every week and then will still play. I don't know why they just don't play Jameis Winston. It looks like last week he was in concussion protocol and had a shoulder and a back injury in Sunday's loss to the Lions. So he's going through it. Other quarterback news that I think we should touch on, Big B, is there was a rumor going around. I think Diana Rossini originally reported it, that after benching Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson very upset about it, right? Rightfully so. The dude wants to be an NFL quarterback, keeps getting benched. That I can't imagine how frustrating that is for him and humiliating it is for him at the same time. They they bench him for Tim Boyle, who, shocker, didn't play well. Then they end up benching Tim Boyle for Trevor Siemian, who also, shocker, didn't play well. And then you have the coaching staff. What I like to think, I don't know. I'm not reporting this. This is my now fan theory about this. Right. The coaching staff then crawling back to Zach Wilson and basically begging for him to play quarterback. Diana Rossini tweeted out that he was reluctant to take the starting quarterback job back. Obviously, he got to the podium and said, "No, dude, I love these guys. I'm so excited to do that." Listen, if I was him in that situation, I'd be reluctant too. You've just been benched a couple times. They went and signed an all-pro over you. They clearly don't want you to be the quarterback. Yeah. They clearly do not want you to be the quarterback, and rightfully so. I just would have a hard time swallowing my pride as much as Zach Wilson has in that regard, in that sense,
I mean,
circumstance.
there's two sides to it. The one side that a lot of people don't look at is like, look, this is your job. So whether you get benched or not, if they're coming back to you and saying we're putting you back in, you need to go back in the game because guess what? They pay you. So, and unless you don't want to get paid, if you're okay with that, then hey, we're putting you back in, you're going in. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is you made me the scapegoat for all of the offensive problems when clearly this is not all on Zach Wilson. That offensive line can't pass protect literally to save their life, much less his life, because he's the one back there taking a beating. So they don't run it anymore, so they can't do that. So they put all the blame on him. They brought in a guy who Boyle just got cut. I mean, not only did he get benched, he got cut.
Right.
That's who you thought was better than me that could get more points on the scoreboard was a guy that you literally just cut. So, I feel his pain. I would be mad. First of all, the rumor is 100% true. She's not going to tweet out something. He probably leaked it out. They're saying that somebody within the Jets organization, I bet he said, hey, man, leak this out. I don't know if I want to come back to this. I go, they wanted to make me the scapegoat. I don't want to go out there and get hurt. So it's a tough situation. But look, if the coaches come to you and say, hey, man, you got to go play. I know it's been tough. I know we went a couple different directions, but we need you to go play because you're better than these other guys. You got to go play unless you are okay not getting paid.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough situation in New York. They think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back soon. He's already gone. What will this be week 3? Will this be the third week with him off of with the 21-day practice window?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. He sat out for 2 weeks. So yeah, they're going to have to activate him and make a choice here pretty soon when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. And
yeah, he's going on the IR. There's no way that he's coming back to a 4-8 football team. Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah. Especially with another couple, I think, does he have another couple years left on the job? I know he's there for at least next year. I don't know his contract off the top of my head. Poor podcast host moment for me. Not.
I mean, he took a pay cut so they could sign some other people, but he'll be there next year. He's under contract for next year, making a boatload. So why risk it for nothing? Because they are not making the playoffs. That's not happening. Not happening.
No, it's not happening. There's some good matchups going on around the league this week.
There is
some good ones that we'll keep an eye on. But we're going to talk about Pro Bowl voting coming up next. We're going to take a break here real quick. Nick Leckey will join us soon. 9:30, he plans on hopping on. That doesn't mean anything to you guys listening to this podcast after the fact. But for you guys watching live, Nick Leckey will join us for basically Blind Nail. But we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Welcome back into Outside the Trenches, presented by our friends Five Farms Irish Cream Liqueur. Hey, just had a successful Sola KC raffle drive. I think we raised over $21,000 for Operation Breakthrough for their Christmas store that we've been running the raffle there. So really appreciate everybody helping out and be on the lookout for more. We're going to go to Dick's Sporting Goods in Kansas City, have a shopping spree where we can spend $21,000. That's right. Listen, Big B, a lot harder than you think. Last year we had about 20,000 in the bank to spend for Operation Breakthrough. We just go around and, I think I was telling you guys about just like throwing stuff in the car, just being like, we'll take all of those. A lot harder to get to 20,000 on one shopping spree than you think it would be. But basically buying up all the stock of this Dick's Sporting Goods here in Kansas City, and very excited to have videos and out from there and everything like that. But great thing that we do there. Nick's got his ticket. He's hoping to win that Travis Kelce signed helmet, that Taylor Swift boyfriend helmet. That's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big ticket item there. But hey, Taylor Swift named Time Person of the Year. How about that? Thought you could get away from it.
Oh, you thought you could get away, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is indeed. So let's talk about the Pro Bowl voting. Big B, I don't know about you. I wasn't aware this was going on. I didn't know
I
it started.
wasn't either. I
Yeah.
had no idea it had started yet.
But Tua Tagovailoa, leading vote getter in the NFL right now with 59,680 votes. He leads all of them in the Pro Bowling vote presented by Verizon. Got to throw that one in there. Also, what I think is really interesting, Big B, I'm going to read you the top 5. CJ Stroud, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Those are your top 5. CJ Stroud being a number 2 is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's played great. Don't get me wrong. He's played great, but I do not have CJ Stroud as number 2 MVP, number 2 in Pro Bowl voting. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I know it's a collection of votes now, that it's not just fan voting. So I figure when all of that gets said and done, there'll be some changes that come up. But and I don't want to take anything away from him. I think he's great. But number 2, we're pushing it. We're pushing it.
I just had to look that up because I was trying to think. They just recently flipped to this. They keep changing the Pro Bowl, and probably because nobody cares about it. Truthfully, I don't think the players like the vacation, but other than that, like it's not
now
much.
That they changed it to where they're not actually playing a game. I think the players like it a hell of a lot more than what they were.
Yeah.
When they were out there risking stuff, and I'm like, they're making way too much money to risk injury in an actual football game that literally means nothing.
It's flag football now, right? Is that what it is? It's a flag football game.
Football, yeah. And last year it was fun. It was fun. You saw guys, not that guys still can't get hurt, but the risk is way down compared to a real football game.
This is at I believe it's at Camping World Stadium. Yeah, it is in Orlando. So they moved it from Vegas to Orlando. Should have just left it in Hawaii. Like
exactly.
Should have just left it there. But I think they're doing renovations to Aloha Stadium. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on down in Hawaii. Their whole football program's a mess, but we don't have to talk about that here. Player selections will be determined by consensus votes of fans, players, and coaches, with each group's vote counting as 1/3 towards determining the all-star players who win this year's Pro Bowl games. So Tua being the leading vote getter only gets him 1/3 of the 3, I guess, that you need like 3 total votes for it. As I mentioned, Tua, CJ Stroud, Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Most votes by team, 49ers. 49ers leading the way. They got a pretty good team. They just coming off a big win against the Philadelphia Eagles where they crushed them. Were you surprised by that game at all, Big B? That the Niners crushed them that much?
I was. I thought they would win, and I was pretty confident that they would win, but I didn't think they would win like that.
On the road.
On the road. I mean, Philly couldn't get anything going. Philly couldn't run the ball, and they've kind of stopped trying to run the ball. But yeah, the game just got ugly. Couldn't tackle. Yeah, there was a fight with security, which I thought was awesome. Never seen a security guard get involved, even just team security. Never seen them getting involved with the opposing team's player during the game. I've never seen that happen. But hey, you live long enough and you see a lot.
It was quite interesting. There was another fight, I think, right after that where another player threw a punch but didn't get thrown out. I can't remember who it was.
The ejections I thought were ridiculous. Look, I mean, just throw a flag on both sides and keep it moving. Don't throw guys out. I mean, that was ridiculous, but it is what it is.
My favorite part about the end of the Iron Bowl, baby, I don't know if we had this conversation, is that after Auburn gave up that 31-yard touchdown on 4th down, the ensuing kickoff, there was a little bit of a skirmish, right? Like they're like, we're upset. There were no flags thrown though. Like there was a good solid pushing match, and there's like,
there was.
If we throw flags, they're just going to offset. Nothing's going to change anything. Nobody threw a punch, so we're not going to throw a flag. Like if we throw a flag, the ball's going to end up at the same spot that's going to be. Let's just keep this thing moving. Like let's just get out of here.
Refs get in the way a lot.
Yeah, shocker. That's what I just did my beef of the week about. If you're on the KCSN YouTube page, and you'll see it up on socials too, the beef of the week, NFL officiating. because like not only for the Chiefs, like the Chiefs got hosed on a couple calls, right? The Packers hosed the refs hosed the Packers on a couple calls on that game too. I think the Chiefs were fortunate to get a couple calls, but towards the end of the game there, that missed defensive pass interference, Big B. Oh Lord, like
That's
I don't know.
blatant. That's textbook pass interference. You go through a man, you climb on his back, you go through him to get to the ball before the ball gets there. I mean, it was blatant pass interference, but refs are human because it's a makeup call from the roughing the or unnecessary roughness on Mahomes because Mahomes was not
rough.
out of bounds. And usually, they get a step or they're when the defender's foot gets out of bounds before your foot gets out of bounds. That's a problem if you're calling them for unnecessary roughness. That's a problem.
Yeah, that one was hard to defend if you're a Chiefs fan. I don't want to see anybody on the timeline saying, "Well, it was actually
no,
it wasn't."
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah, the NFL officiating this year has been very bad. And it's not just been it wasn't just that game. I'm not just saying it just from that game. It's been bad across the board. It seems like every game I watch, NFL officials are doing something even more mind-boggling than they had the previous week. It's almost like they just need to scrap the whole process and start again, Big B. It's almost like they just need to say like, all right, let's forget everything we've done the past 150. That's not fair. Not 100 years. And let's just like start again. Let's use technology. Let's have like an official who's watching as like a bird's eye view official and like all the screens on there who's like in the ear of the white hat saying like, let's go. Let's challenge this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's put a chip in the ball. Let's not do chains anymore. What kind of sport are we if we're still using change? There's a good nostalgia factor, right, for change, but they don't matter. You can still have them on the sidelines. You can still have them out there, but you can put the chip in the ball so you have an actual measurement of how far. I just think there's a lot of things that you can do to improve the officiating that it seems like the NFL is stuck in their ways. Shocker. But I don't know if that's what they want to do, and not necessarily even that's not even like taking the human element out of it. I think.
No, it isn't. I mean, the first thing about officiating, everybody always has to understand is they're human, so they're going to make mistakes. Yeah. But having said that, it's almost like officials don't want to be officiated themselves. It's like their ego gets in the way of having somebody else double check what they're doing. And I'll remind people, if you have an opportunity, go look up the salaries of NFL officials and how much they're making. These guys aren't making peanuts. They're not out here, reffing NFL games for $500 a game. That's not what's happening here. So these guys are being paid very, very well. And if the whole mission is to actually get it right, if they cared that much about it, then why wouldn't you want to just get it right and have other people that are overseeing and looking? They're not saying that you're a bad official unless you continuously make bad calls. Well, if you're doing that, should you even be out there? That's the whole thing. Hey, don't be out there if you continuously make bad calls. Be better. Don't we make everybody in every position or, in every job or every profession, you have to continuously get better at your profession. If you don't, they will replace you. Why can't they do the same thing with refs? I just don't understand it.
And I know it's kind of tough a little bit too with the officials. That a lot of the calls are judgment calls. Like that's what it is. Is that a lot of officiating is judgment calls, and we can get Nick Leckey here on this when he's ready to come on in. But I'm curious to get his point of view because he is a high school official. I don't know if you guys know that he does spend some time on the field as a high school official. But I think it's one of those things. If you can make the black and white calls easier for officials, we saw it with the MLB, right? I think that the enhanced replay system in the MLB made officiating better, made umpiring better in the MLB. Yeah, and you have a greater appreciation for what these guys see. Honestly, like I have a mad respect for the officials, but it seems like the officiating is one of the things that right now is pretty tough to see. But let's go ahead and bring on Nick Leckey as he is joining us live from the cave. Nick, how are you, buddy?
How you gentlemen doing today?
We are
Cannot
well,
complain.
my man.
Yeah. I heard I chimed in there right when you guys were talking about the officials, and I think you should be able to review things in a 2 minute. Like I thought we were already to that point where you look at some of the calls that were made and not made. Is that's referee, right? You want to stay neutral. You don't want to be a part of the game at all. You want to be like an offensive lineman where you want the game to run smoothly. You don't want anybody to remember you because the game ran smoothly. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things where a call was not made or made that kind of influenced the outcome of a game. And it's one of those things we look at the rules committee where you're so used to as a college referee and it's a pro referee, everything is reviewable. Well, pass interference is such a judgment call, but sometimes there are times where hey, there's contact before it, restricted, flag.
Right.
And it's not always perfect. It's not always gonna be perfect, and you just got to roll with it. But I think the people hitting the panic button on the Chiefs, that's a whole different story entirely, because Chiefs have played like crap.
Yeah.
But guess what? They've only been 2 plays away from winning games, like a play or 2 from winning games. Like, think about that. Like, think about that context. Like, that's crazy.
It is quite crazy to think about how this Chiefs team, and I really do think his Dirkness on the Amateur Hour podcast made this point of it really felt like though that this game was the first time that that the Chiefs truly got beat, that they didn't necessarily shoot themselves in the foot all that much. Yeah, they had a couple of penalties, the Creed Humphrey penalty and the holding penalty in the red zone, and that first drive that kind of stalled everything out. They had a couple penalties in the red zone actually that just led to field goals. But it just kind of felt like the Packers beat them. It didn't feel like, that ultimately it was, the Chiefs' own wrongdoings that led them to a loss. It wasn't turning the ball over 5 times. It wasn't, an MVS drop pass in the end zone. It wasn't, dropping a ball from Kadarius Toney and having it going straight into Brian Branch's hands and having him run it all the way back for a pick 6. It was one of those games where, every time the Chiefs had 3 drives, I think, in the fourth quarter. They were down 2, they were down 5, and then they were down 8. And they could have put the game away in each one of those. They could have scored a touchdown. They could have. They had the opportunity. The defense really, and Nick, we talked about this a little before you hopped on. I think the defense did a great job in terms of just keeping the Chiefs offense in that game and giving them an opportunity to win the game with 3rd string guys running out there. That was pretty impressive. I want to get your thoughts on the Chiefs defensive performance, Nick, before we totally move on to blind now.
I think that Green Bay had a fantastic scheme, and I don't think they were quite prepared for Jordan Love to be such a confident runner. And if anything, there was so much going on with that game where, this is kind of a coming out party for Jordan Love, where he played really well, and they had a great scheme where they had these up-tempo plays, these quick hitters, and they were gashing Chiefs defense for 7-8 yards a pop. And that, I thought that was what the Chiefs should have done. Like, they should copy that offense and not try to go through Mahomes on everything. The drives where the Chiefs ran the ball consistently, that's when they had success. And then Andy Reid being an O-lineman, it's like, why don't you stick to the run? Like, it's working. And it reduces the pass rush, because they were getting killed pass rush wise. And so it's just one of those, the reluctance to not run the ball. And I thought the defense, they just did enough, but not quite enough. And the offense didn't really pull their part.
Big B, any final thoughts on that?
I agree with exactly what Nick's saying. Again, the reluctance to run the football when the Chiefs actually can run the football. If this wasn't an indicator of, hey, man, you run the football, you can win a football game that maybe you're not playing your best in. I just don't understand it. I'm never going to understand it. The refusal to do it. But Andy Reid's always been that way. Even when he had Shady McCoy, they ran it, but they could have given it to him 35 times. Instead, 18, 19 rushes. I don't get it. It's crazy that they won't run the ball more, especially knowing some of the, let's say, challenges that the Chiefs receivers have had. And the running game is working. It'd be one thing if it's not working. Then we're just saying you're running yourself into a brick wall. What are you doing? But when it's working, you got to keep doing it. You just got to keep doing it, man. It helps. and they're just the reluctance to do it. I don't know. I think it's cost the Chiefs the number 1 seed. I know there's a lot of football left, and the Ravens got a tough schedule, and the Dolphins do too. So, and the Chiefs is not. So we'll still see, but they're behind the 8 ball. They cannot afford any more slip ups, because if they do, they're going on the road for the playoffs this year.
That's the thing too. I took a look at that. Shocker, or spoiler, I should say spoiler alert, not shocker. Spoiler alert, that's what my short is for the best this week if you're on the KCSN YouTube page. And basically I asked the question, do the Chiefs have the best slate left out of all the division leaders to get the number 1 seed? Yeah, they do. They have the best schedule, but are they playing the best right now? No, they're not playing the best at all. So that's going to be, they have the opportunity is there. I don't think Jacksonville, I don't think Baltimore, and I don't think Miami are winning out. Like if you look at their schedule, well, it's actually, Baltimore plays Miami, and I think they play in Jacksonville too. So like they by factor cannot,
they play the 49ers too.
They play the 49ers. Like if you look at the Ravens schedule, oh my gosh.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah. They also played the Steelers the last game of the season.
I mean,
Baby Hand's supposed to be back for that game, so who knows?
Just in time for some week 18 heroics
to throw for 111 yards.
The
Chiefs, man. I just think the Chiefs, if they can just get it together, there's still enough time. There's still enough football left to get it together. I know we're talking doom and gloom, but there's still enough time to figure it out. Teams get on a run with 2 games left in the schedule, much less 5. So they have an opportunity here to still get things going in the right direction. I think they got to get a little healthy and start seeing some more success. And I think the Chiefs are just going to be fine. Nick's right. The panic button should not even be in any Chiefs fans' vicinity right now. It shouldn't even be around. There's no reason to panic.
The Chiefs fans, listen, this will be our final thought for Blind Mill, though, but the Chiefs fans, we've been staying in a Ritz-Carlton, and now we're having to stay at like a Courtyard by Marriott, and they're like not happy with it. They're not happy. But guess what? We still have shelter, still get a free breakfast, still get, quality beds. And it's like, hey, shut up. Stop complaining. We're fine. We're just fine. This is not the end of the world.
It's fine. It's a fine hotel. I mean, look.
Well, you could be like some teams staying at the Roto Rooter Inn or something like that. I mean, you could be that bad. So trust me. The Chiefs are going to be fine. I love that analogy, though, Nick. You're 100% right, man. They've been at a Ritz-Carlton. Now you're at a Marriott. Could be worse. It's okay.
Still
okay.
Gas.
Yeah.
You know what? That kind of does go with my blind nil. That's a perfect segue, Nick. You had no idea what I was going to ask, but as you guys may know, as we transition to blind nil here, if you haven't listened to the show before and this is your first time, you're like, what the heck are these guys talking about blind nil? Like, what? These weirdos are talking about a poker term? Yeah, we are, because it comes in where blind nil is a card thing. Nick, you're gonna have to
spades. It's spades. I can tell you never played spades in your life before, Tucker.
Come on, Tucker.
Did I?
Damn it, Tucker. Spades is one of the greatest card games of all time.
Exactly.
Is it like hearts?
But better, because hearts is kind of like neutral, whereas spades, man, you got so much more strategy. You can go blind nil, you can go double blind nil. You can run the table, you can shoot the moon. There's so many ways. And if you catch people cheating, right, like that's the best. One of my highlights of college is, we're late night and I caught my buddy who he played a spade like in like round 2, and like round 10 or 12 of that game, he played a heart. And I'm like, whoa, did you play a heart? Did you play a spade, this heart over here? And caught him. So that's like one of my greatest,
a lot of cheating going on at the K-State spade games, Nick. Trust me. A lot of people throwing down a spade. Waits till the next round, just pulls the cards back, waits till the next round while everybody's looking at their cards, picks up that same spade and puts another card away and then plays it again. Lot of cheating. I don't know anything about that. I have no idea. I'm just saying there's a lot of cheating at the at the K-State Spade
Yeah.
table.
So it's a fun game. It's a fun
Yes,
drinking
it
game,
is.
and it's like it keeps you engaged, but you don't have to be fully engaged, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a cool, yeah. You don't even gamble. You just play for fun.
No, you don't have
Yeah.
to gamble, and it's good strategy too. There's real strategy.
I'll have to try. I'll have to play some Spades sometime. But that's where we got the name Blind Nil, is where we all bring something to the table. We don't know whatever anyone's going to talk about. Nick didn't know what I was going to talk about before he gave me that excellent segue into me saying that, hey, I'm going to the Cotton Bowl. I know I talked about it a little bit. Missouri got picked for the Cotton Bowl, and I'm going down to Dallas. It's a shame that game is not at the actual Cotton Bowl, by the way, that it's at AT&T Stadium. Nevertheless, beautiful stadium. I know that the Texas and Oklahoma announced like a $140 million renovation for the Cotton Bowl, though, today. That's going to be a good thing.
Cotton Bowl's old. I mean, it's old. And
Fair
when you get
Park
there,
is
first of all, Fair Park, but
sketchy.
Inside the Cotton Bowl is not built for guys like me, Tucker. It is literally the
Fair.
seats are super narrow, and when you walk through openings, you'll notice that it was built way back when, because they're not that high. Like if you're like 6'6", you're ducking to get through every doorway. It's interesting, but still a crazy cool venue, though.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to go. This will be the first time I've gone to a bowl game, New Year's Six bowl game. Nevertheless, super cool. Gonna do the road trip experience. But I wanted to ask you guys this, both guys who, Nick from Grapevine, where they decided the whole damn thing. Big V, you live currently in Dallas. I want to know, what's one thing I got to see on Saturday, because I'm going to be driving up on Saturday. I'm going to be kind of moseying my way up on Saturday, not in too big of a rush. So what's one thing that I've got to see before I leave town in Dallas?
What do you want, like touristy thing or food wise? Like, what do you,
Either. I haven't necessarily thought about that far. I was like, you know what? I know these two guys know Dallas pretty well. I should ask them what I should do.
Sure. I mean, if you're staying, depends on where you're staying. I mean, if you're staying in Arlington, I mean, Dallas is a little ways away. So that's the first
long
thing.
ways away.
Yeah. So you're not like right next door to Dallas. But if you venture over, for me, I know I've told you I'm a history guy. I think you got to go see the JFK stuff. Yep. I think you got to go
fifth floor.
You got to go see it, man.
Fifth floor museum.
Because it's still an active street. So it's not like the shut down road or anything like that. It's still an active street. And I won't tell you much about it, but you definitely have to go. You got to go.
100%.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. We went there as kids, and I'm going back home over the break, and I'll definitely take my kids there. And the last whole part, like, don't waste your time. Like the first part, you're like, oh, cool, all the history, blah, blah, blah. The last part is completely dedicated to all the conspiracy theories. Like, they do not hide from it at all. It is like, here we go. Here we go.
Absolutely.
This is what you've all been waiting for.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, if you go, there's going to be at least one person that was actually there. You're no matter what, you're going to go down there, and there's going to be somebody that was actually there, and they'll pull up a newspaper and say, hey, you see that dot? Yeah, that's me. Yeah, so you will see that was 100% be part of it. But I think all of that is crazy, crazy interesting. I love it. I love every bit of it. And every time I even drive down there and drive past it, it kind of gives me chills. I love that history stuff.
Yeah. And if you're going to Arlington, you're kind of closer to Fort Worth, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd go to Joe T. Garcia's for Mexican food. Bring cash. It's pretty good. It's like an institution.
Yeah.
For Mexican food. They use commercial grade filet mignon for their fajita meat.
They do.
Right. And with the filet mignon, right, there's no marbling. So commercial grade or Wagyu, it's all the same. But yeah, they use a commercial grade filet mignon for their fajitas, and they're marinated for like 48 hours. It's amazing.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's really, I don't have the hotel yet from where I'm going to stay, because, I got a parking pass. So I was like, you know what? I'll just find a place. There's, shocker, a lot of places around Arlington I can stay. I don't know if I want to stay in Arlington. I might try to stay up actually in Grapevine.
You should.
And go down that way.
Yeah.
I've heard Arlington's not the best area
to
stay.
It's sus.
Yeah. I mean, there's parts of it that are okay, but nowhere around that stadium is it okay. Nowhere.
But something that I
yeah.
was trying to think of doing is like I just like to go and see like these college campuses, right? And TCU being in
Yeah.
Fort Worth, go swing. I just might swing by there. SMU, I think, is downtown Dallas ish.
No. It's North Dallas.
North
No,
Dallas. Okay.
no, it's not. The SMU's not. It's on Highland Park.
It's in Highland Park. Yeah, it's North Dallas.
Oh, yeah, I guess technically it is. I'm thinking
I said
Frisco.
not north of. That's north of Dallas, buddy.
Yeah, I'm thinking Frisco.
Yeah,
my bad.
you're
My
not
bad.
North Dallas. You're north of
I
Dallas.
apologize. I apologize.
There are clear, but that's when people say like, "Oh, I'm from Dallas." Where are you from? McKinney? No, you're north.
No, that's
of
right.
Dallas.
You're from
Dallas,
McKinney.
yeah.
That's right.
North of Dallas.
I'm gonna stop at that Buc-ee's. I got wear my Buc-ee's shirt actually.
Oh,
Coincidentally,
nice.
I'm gonna stop at the Buc-ee's in Denton. Obviously, that one is the first one I think you hit on 35. I just saw producer Nick put in the chat before I wiped my face that Buc-ee's stinks, and I think that is the worst take of all time. And I have to, I'd have to call him out on that one. That is
that.
Wow.
I mean, that's blasphemy. I mean,
You don't like
golly.
fingers should bleed from even typing something like that.
That is wow.
Beaver nuggets, beef jerky,
all of it. I mean, what gas station can you go to and have brisket carved for you in the gas station while you wait? And I mean, and it is absolutely delicious.
Q39 or Joe's.
Joe's. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. Joe's.
No, you can buy a cowboy hat there too. I almost did that one time when I went. Just to say about a cowboy hat from Buc-ee's.
But buy one in Fort Worth. Buy one in Fort Worth. The stockyards are like. Listen,
I've heard a lot about stockyards.
Fort Worth is what you think Dallas is. Like Fort Worth is like high rises and Cowboys, right? Where Dallas is what you think that, but Dallas is not Cowboy. Fort Worth is Cowboy. And Fort Worth. Remember the best nickname ever. Fort Worth is Funky Town, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's like everyone I know who are from Funky Town, right? That's Fort Worth.
So should I stay in Fort Worth or Grapevine?
Fort Worth.
Okay.
You can get more
experience.
experience.
It's closer to Arlington.
That's true.
Yeah. And you get experience. Grapevine's fun, but it's just a little city surrounded by other cities. But Fort Worth has got more of that. You're going to experience more Texas feel in Fort Worth.
I was looking to see what it was going to cost to stay at the hotel that they did the college football playoff thing at. I can't remember.
The Gaylord, Texas.
The Gaylord.
Yeah, it might be a little pricey.
Especially around that time of year.
It's like $480. I said, no, thank you.
I was going to say, the Gaylord is a little pricey. Pricey.
Right there on Lake Grapevine. Grapevine Lake.
I will take my $80 night Courtyard Marriott. In Fort Worth. That's what I'll do.
And don't get it twisted. I love Courtyards. When I travel for work, I stay at Courtyards, and I'm more than pleased. More than pleased.
I bet you got a lot of Marriott points.
Yes, I do.
you just seem like a guy that has a lot of Marriott points.
Yes, I do.
And cashes them in when he takes the family on vacation. That's the way you do it, man.
Stay for a week for free.
That's right, man.
That's the way you do breakfasts. Yeah. Yeah. Pay like $40 for like 4 people to do all you can eat breakfast with like 2 omelet chefs and a pancake chef.
There you go.
Right.
I get it. I get it.
$300 buffets for like 40. It's awesome.
That sounds wonderful.
There you go.
All right. A perfect segue too, because I didn't know you're going to do that, but with a certain team from the city of Arlington performing very well and actually pretty highly graded quarterback and Dak Prescott and Big B's there and Tucker's about to go there. I'm from there. What do you guys think? Is Dallas for real? Are they going to make a run for it?
I picked Dallas to go to the Super Bowl this year at the beginning.
You really did. We're going to have to check receipts. I think you did. I think was it a Dallas?
I picked them to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. So, but also picked the Chargers. So, the Dallas and the Chargers. So we'll
cancels each other out.
Yeah, but I think Dallas wins the game. Number 1 on Sunday. I do. Yeah. I think Dallas wins the game on Sunday against the Eagles.
They play tomorrow. Don't they play tomorrow night?
No, that's unfortunately the Thursday. It's the Steelers and the Patriots tomorrow. It'll be 6-3, but
if we're lucky,
if we're lucky, nobody will get in the red zone. I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Eagles. I think the Eagles kind of took it on the chin by the 49ers. Look, and you can say the same thing that they took it on the chin that the Cowboys did too. That was earlier in the season. I just think that the Eagles got beat up. They got beat up by the 49ers late. I think the Cowboys are ascending. I think the Eagles are not. And I think the Cowboys are better. And not to mention that secondary of the Eagles is absolute trash. And the Cowboys have been dynamite throwing the football here the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. You know, I think they've, well, let's see, Tucker, what do you think? Are they legit or no?
I think so. I was just looking up the MVP odds right now. Right now, Brock Purdy leads it. I don't know. That's wild.
That's filler. That's filler.
Yeah, he's plus 300 right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. Tied for second, Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott at plus 350. Dak Prescott's been playing really well this year, and I think he's been the best quarterback in the league. When you look at his performances and everything like that, CD Lamb has been huge. Like obviously, Captain Obvious checking into the podcast here, but man, I think they're good, and like they got a good defense too. The offense figured it out. That's the big thing. Is it like we just got to throw the ball to CD Lamb 12 times, and this can work? Yeah, let's do that. That's crazy. They got a couple good wide receivers out there, and then get it going. And Dak's kind of got his swagger back. You can see a little bit with him the scramble and getting into the dude's face. They definitely got swagger. I do think that I'm with Big B. I think they win that game just because kind of how the Eagles are and Jalen Hurts being a little hindered a little bit. But fun year to be a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I know they're loving it down here in Dallas. They are absolutely loving it. I mean, they say it every year. Don't get me wrong. Every year is the Cowboys year. But they're actually excited because they can see them playing well, which they've seen it before. But for some reason, I just think it's different this year. I think it's different.
I'm saying no. I'm saying this is the biggest pump fake setup I've ever seen in my life. This is more so than the everything on Dealey Plaza and the fifth floor. This is a conspiracy to lull the Cowboys fans. This is hyping up every Cowboys fans from here to Timbuktu, right? Like they beat the Giants at home.
Yeah.
The Panthers on the road. Give me a break. The Commanders at home. The Seahawks at home. Come on. Sure, you play the guys in your schedule. You beat guys in your schedule, but really, I mean, that's not. I mean, does that give you hope? Does that give you optimism that they're going to beat an Eagles team that just played one of the hardest 4-game stretches ever? If that wasn't the biggest FU to Eagles everywhere, where hey, go play at Buffalo. Go play versus Kansas City in Philly, and then go play the 49ers at home. And then, hey, guess what? Go play your divisional rivals, Dallas. It's almost like they matched to say, hey, Dallas, we'll play you some crappy teams so you can sort of rest your players. And Philly, we're going to play this hard-ass schedule. We're going to play all the who's who of the who's who in the NFL right now. Right? So, yeah, Philly's going to be beat up right now. And, they've had a tough schedule, and they won. They went through it, right? They beat a hot Buffalo. In Buffalo, right? They beat Kansas City. They lost to the Niners, but what are you going to do there, man? Washington said F you to the Eagles by trading Chase Young. I mean, that's the most, like I said, I've said it 1,000 times, that's the most pettiest Dan Snyder move ever, is to trade your all-pro D-end to a already stacked team. That's like trading a good basketball player to those Miami Heat teams with LeBron and D Wade, right? Like that's what that is.
The thing is, Chase Young's playing well for them too.
Really good.
Playing well.
Really good. Really good, man.
The only thing that I would put up a fight with that, Nick, is if you go back and you look at common opponents between the Eagles and the Cowboys, the Cowboys are crushing those teams. The Eagles are barely beating them. Now, a win's a win. Don't get me wrong. A win is a win. But when you actually go back and you start comparing wins and common opponents, the Cowboys are just blowing those teams out where the Eagles are squeaking by.
You should work for the college football playoff committee, Big B.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
See, so you're happy as a Louisville man that Florida State. Right?
Hey, here's what I'm happy, and I've said this all week to anybody who'll listen. In 1998, they did the same thing to us at Kansas State, so I do not feel sorry for Florida State, who, by the way, happened to be the team that got in over us, and they shouldn't have. So I don't feel sorry for anybody. I know that's petty. I know
that's not petty. That's not petty at all. That's not petty.
Makes me a bad person because I don't feel sorry for the kids, but I do not feel sorry for those kids. I'm sorry, I don't, because I was one of those kids.
Big B, Tucker, do you know what he's talking about?
Was that the 1998 Kansas State team, right? You lost to A&M, right?
Tucker, what happened? But what happened? Do you know what happened?
It was a BCS error, correct?
Yeah,
correct.
And the BCS, the computer said that Florida State was number 2?
No.
What happened?
B,
that was part of it. But what happened was they thought that their loss to a 5-6 team earlier in the year was a better loss than our loss at the end of the year to the number 9 team in the country in double overtime. So they put them in the playoff. But what made it worse for Kansas State was all the other big time bowls selected other teams, and we ended up number 3 in the BCS, had to go play in the Alamo Bowl. That's what made it even worse. I mean, it's just
versus 6-6 Purdue, right?
Yeah,
or something like that.
I mean, it's the only time that Bill Snyder literally was not prepared for we practiced like 4 times in a month.
Did you guys? You guys didn't care? Like just
no.
That's amazing.
And you knew it was bad. I mean, you know how Coach Snyder was with
you guys
bowl
didn't
prep.
Practice at all? Bowl prep was miserable.
It was miserable. It was worse than 2-a-days because
it was miserable.
And we did nothing.
Really? You guys had no practices?
He canceled the first 2 practices when we got to San Antonio. I'm like, wow. Okay.
What?
I go,
Are
even coach is not. I am dead serious. I am dead serious. The year before against the Fiesta Bowl, I think we practiced, if there were 27 days in between games, we practiced 24 of them. I mean, we were just going at it. I mean, but yeah, we did nothing. Nobody cared. All the coaches were leaving. I mean, it was a nightmare, but that's what happened. Wow. That's why I don't feel sorry for him, Tucker. Not at all.
Was that the Dante Hall Texas A&M teams?
It was a nightmare. We should have won the game. That's the main thing. We should have won the football game. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah. It's brutal.
I'll leave that to the computers. I think I saw something that the BCS rankings would have actually had Florida State in.
Of course they would have.
And it was by a very slim margin, by like 0.01. I think they would have had Florida State in.
Don't remind me of 0.01.
It should have been because they didn't lose a freaking game all season. That's just dumb. It's just stupid. Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation to have. Good thing they're going to 12 next year. This couldn't have been a more perfect year to prove why you needed a 12-team playoff. Like, exactly. I think this is a good year to end on it, to be like, okay, yeah, that's why we need more than just.
And that's the whole thing. The whole system was set up to fail from the beginning. You have 5 Power 5 conferences with 4 spots. Somebody was going to get left out. It just had worked out that nobody had done this, in a season. There hadn't been all these undefeated teams. Well, then there was, and we're not going to put them in. No. Brutal.
Games are irrelevant. They're, if this were to continue, they'd be letting in a 3-loss team eventually, just because they're winning with style.
Correct. Ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to watch Florida State play Michigan, though. To be honest, you know how
you don't know that. You don't know that,
Nick. You know how I know that they made the right choice. You know how I know the committee made the right choice. Did you see the reaction of Michigan's team when they had to play Alabama?
They were crushed.
They were.
Yeah, they didn't want to play.
That's how you know they made the right choice. If they got Florida State, they'd be like, sweet, we got a backup quarterback. This team put up 3 points against, no offense to Louisville. Louisville's got a good defense. Put up 3 points against Louisville, had a 3-point halftime lead, was clinging onto a 6-0 lead.
Michigan ain't all that, man. Michigan is just as decent as Florida State. Who the hell's in the Big Ten besides Ohio State?
I think that's a really good point.
Nobody.
They've played one. Nobody. Their strength of schedule could not be as bad as
the Big Ten.
Because everybody pumps up Penn State. I'm like, Penn State is not good.
No, they get no. Yeah, to me the Big Ten, ACC. There's no like look at Clemson, look at Florida State, and that's Ohio State. That's Michigan. Who else you got?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, everyone pubs up the Big Ten, even the Pac-12. Who do you have? Nobody.
Wow.
Pac-12 was decent this year.
This year was pretty good.
It was decent this year, but in most years it is horrible.
And then look at even SEC. Who do you have? Alabama, Georgia. That's it.
SEC was incredibly top heavy this year.
It is every year, though. It is every year. But yeah, you're right. You can say that about every conference for the most part. But they talk about how the gauntlet of the SEC is so tough. I'm like, really? Like Arkansas, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, that gauntlet we're talking about, South Carolina? Like, come on now. But Arkansas every conference has those bad teams, though.
Yeah.
Every conference is like that. So, Tucker, you're right.
It's a history. They have a history, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Blah, blah, blah. And it's dumb. It's dumb. And there's such a bias towards the SEC. Sure, all your champions have come there, right? LSU, Florida, whatever. But, I mean, that's because it doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, we're not looking at this objectively. We're looking at this as like a momentum from years past. And you should be looking at, hey, cancel what happened last year.
Right.
What are we looking at this year? And listen, remember what happened in September, because a lot of people forget what happens in September too.
Well, they act like it doesn't matter. They acted like the Texas-Alabama game never happened. And they also acted like, because Georgia had won 29 in a row, I'm like, I didn't realize Jalen Carter wasn't playing for the Eagles. He was going to come back and play for Georgia. I'm like, why are we talking about what happened last year? That has nothing to do with what happened this year. Absolutely nothing. So I don't know why people brought that up. I thought that was an insane argument to bring up.
So stupid. It's like when they show stats on TV. Here's his stats through 2017, the second highest player since 2017. Like, what? Who cares?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Somebody cares.
Cherry picking. They're
real ones don't know.
Yeah.
We're living in a stat-based society. It's like you need to influence them both.
And look, you can make stats say whatever you want. Like, legitimately, you could change the time frame, change what exactly you want to collect. You could make them say whatever you want them to say. But yeah, no, I think that the 12 team is obviously the right way to go. In terms of the playoff and everything. You got to have enough to get every power. Well, that's tough now because the Pac-12 is not really a power conference anymore. But every power champion needs to be in there. Like, that's just how it needs to be. One of my favorite things, Mike Leach, before we move on to Big B's blood now. We still got that. Mike Leach's rant from 2017 about the playoff.
It was amazing. Scenario. It was absolutely amazing.
Every was so smart.
It was unreal. It was unreal. Yeah.
Underappreciated, truthfully, I think Mike Leach.
He got his love before he passed away. But remember too, he also went batshit crazy when he was at Tech too.
Yeah,
so I've heard a lot of stories come out.
Yeah.
Let's not gloss that over, like when Michael Jackson died and all of a sudden he's a hero again.
Right. That's fair. But yeah, I thought that his rant about like how come we have to do it different than literally every other football league in the entire planet is
high school, D2, NFL, Chico,
everybody.
Right?
Well, that's what makes college football so unique. I'm like, get out of here, man. It's all about money, and that's it. That's literally it. Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm about to watch the FCS playoff. Idaho plays Albany this weekend at 10 p.m. and it's a playoff.
That's right.
I'm gonna watch it.
That's right. Listen, like just think about the popularity of the NFL, the combine, the draft gets better ratings than like playoff games and other sports. Think about if they had the Frozen for the December, March Madness in December, January, right? It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Big B, what you got for us? What's your blind no?
Well, I was jumping on the official train. And the officiating train that we talked about. So mine is, what is the worst call in any sporting event that you can remember that had a big outcome on the game? Mine is pretty easy. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was going to say it's got to be USA versus USSR basketball. It was like in the 70s.
72.
There was 72. There was like an inbound, like USA was up by 1, and they literally they called fouls on USA 3 times in a row for like inbounds, right?
Yep.
And then finally the third time when they finally, got the ball and scored, they let it happen. But how did they restricted them, right? The officials were like, you should look it up, Tucker, because the officials, like, they literally were like not going to let USA win the game.
Yep. They 2 different times USA won the game on inbounds. They were able, because there was only 2 seconds left. And on both they inbounded the ball, knocked it away. But I mean, whoever heard of officials that didn't speak the same language? That was part of it. They had 2 officials, they didn't speak the same language. So how are they even communicating to each other? God only knows. But yeah, and then finally the 3rd time, they throw it all the way down the court, and USA guys run and jump into each other, and the guy catches it and scores and wins. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Mine is 85 Royals. Game 6.
Oh man.
85 Royals got away with one. But you know what? The Royals won, so that's all that really matters, isn't it?
Was that the Pine Tar?
No, that was first base. I can't remember the ump's last name, but John something. But yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. First base. I mean, the game was gonna be over. I mean, they were gonna win. The Cardinals were gonna win, and nope, safe at first. Next thing you know, the Royals end up winning Game 6 and go on to win the next day.
11-0 or something like that. I think
they blew them out. Blew them out in the next game. So
look, they still could have won it.
They could have.
That's another
opportunity.
That's why I tell my Cardinals fans, my friends, hey, still could have won it. I obviously had no dog in the fight. I was not even born yet. Nick in the chat, Nick Springer, shout out Nick, producer Nick, took mine. What I was gonna say, the Colorado 5th down against Missouri. Eric Bieniemy, the running back on that team, by the way, shout out. I believe the way that it went was they were in the red zone or like first and goal, and they spiked it on first down, and then they ran the ball on second down. They called a timeout, and they forgot to flip the change to second down or to third down afterwards, and they kept it on second down, and they ended up giving 5 downs, and Missouri had stopped them on 4th down, but it was actually
I think third down. I think they spiked it again on 4th down, and they gave them that extra down. I'm like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, the 5th, and I think that propelled Colorado to have a claim at the national title or something like that, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah.
Because if they would have lost that game, back in the day, you could just claim national titles.
Really good. You're really good.
Florida State's about to do it. I mean, Florida State's about to claim one. Like if they beat Georgia, they're claiming it. They're saying
they can drop a banner, right?
Yeah.
They can have Jameis come in, give a pep rally speech. That's what I'm here for.
I would love that. Actually, they need to just start Jameis. Truthfully, get done with get over to the Derek Carr situation. But
I love him.
I saw a video of Jameis today where he's just like walking around Pelicans games. Like he's just like walking around, just like talking to people. Like that's so awesome.
Yeah.
He seems like a people guy. Like he seems like he loves to be around people. And I don't want to say he's a people pleaser, but he just like loves to talk to people. And that's,
he made his money. Awesome. He's living in New Orleans, eating good food. He's the backup, because they took his job away from him. He's probably like, you know what? I'm living the good life right now. I'll go talk to everybody. New Orleans is a good city to eat great food, hang out with people. I'm sure he's loving life.
Yeah, it was. Jameis is one of my favorite quarterbacks. He is an awesome, like just that guy's a good locker room guy.
Yeah.
He is.
He is too. Where's he from, by the way?
I think Alabama.
That makes sense.
I think he's country, Alabama or Georgia. Yeah, he's country. There was a picture of the internet that he was showing his house.
Bessemer,
Alabama. Yeah, he's pretty country.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I see it. No, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Him giving the pat on the back to Derek Carr. I don't know if you saw that video. Derek Carr's just like watching. Derek Carr's sitting on like the tablet, watching it, and I think he's like reaching behind to put his like tablet up, Jameis's, and then he like goes and he just like pats Derek Carr on the back twice, and then just like continues.
It's all on you, buddy. It's all on you.
It's all right, buddy. Yeah. It's all right.
I don't want your job. You're good.
He's incredible. One of my favorite stories, but then we'll eventually wrap this podcast up. But one of my favorite Jameis stories is him getting suspended for yelling obscenities in the student union, right? And he was suspended for the game, and he dressed out because he thought Jimbo would forget that he suspended him. And he's like going through warm-ups, and Jimbo's like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I thought you would forget. That's so funny.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
I'm not even gonna comment. I remember exactly what they were doing.
What he said. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know, go look it up. But that's a good note to end this podcast on. Appreciate everybody watching with us at the time. Appreciate everybody listening to us after the fact as well. We do appreciate you guys hanging out with us, talking league-wide. We talk a little bit of everything here, if you guys don't know that by now and outside the trenches, but we appreciate every one of you supporting us. Want to also give a big shout-out. Thank you to everyone who donated for the Soul Casey raffle. Official number not out yet, but last I had heard, we're looking at a pretty sizable number. 21K is what I think that we ended up raising in total. So very exciting there, as we'll have more stuff coming out from there. So stay tuned on our social channels at KC Sports Network. We'll have more for you guys there. So until next time, that's Nick Leckey and Brien Hanley. I'm Tucker Franklin. We'll talk to you guys next week.